handcuffed? Hopefully you've never had the real ones on, unless you're into that. If you're into that, I'm not judging, I'm not judging. But have you ever been in a life situation that made you feel like you had these on? For example, have you ever been trapped in a job that you hated and it seems like you just can't find a better one? Or maybe you've been in a domestic situation and you were with a person that was so toxic and they made you feel like you were actually shackled to them. Or have you been deep in debt and it felt like you were handcuffed to MasterCard? Have you ever felt like this? Well, if you have, I'm here to tell you that you can escape. You can find a better job, you can get away from that toxic person, and you can get out of debt. How do I know? Because once I was in a situation where I was trapped. For most of my life, I was in a cult. But I got out, and you can too. Let me explain a little bit more. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of the cult that I was a member of, because all the points I'm going to talk about relates to all cults, according to the research. But my mother raised my sister and myself in this cult, and then at age 17, I voluntarily was baptized as a member. Then I married a woman who was also in the cult, and for the next 23 years, we were faithful adherents. But after 23 years, my marriage fell apart. And it was at that very, very low point in my life that I took a hard, long look at what I had been believing for the last 45 years. And I realized that it wasn't the truth. And I decided to leave. That was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life, because I had to break free from the shackles they had on my mind. You know, cult indoctrination is cleverly designed to keep you in. One way they do this is by convincing you that your cult is the only true religion. It's the only right way to worship God. And if you leave, you're turning your back on God. You're actually becoming his enemy, and he will destroy you if you don't come back. Can you imagine how terrifying that is? To think that you're God's enemy? I had so many sleepless nights worrying about that, because I had believed that for 45 years. You can't just turn that off just like that. That was very, very difficult. It made it very difficult to walk away. Another way they indoctrinate you is to isolate you. Now, how do they do this? Well, if you decide to leave, all the faithful members are told to severely limit their association, their fellowship with you. Now, that includes your family and your friends. Because many times it's whole families that will join the cult. And all of your friends are in the cult because you've been taught people on the outside, you stay away from them because they're dangerous. So now, think about what that means when they stop speaking to you. Because they're actually taught to treat you as if you're dead. If they see you, they won't even speak to you. So imagine the emotional turmoil that'll bring, because that means you can't associate with your family. You're not going to be invited to family dinners anymore. You're not going to be invited to weddings anymore. They're not going to allow you to see your grandchildren. If you call your mother and she sees that you're on the phone, she won't answer. Can you imagine that? Your mother won't even answer the phone because to them, you're dead. Can you understand how that would keep you trapped in the cult? Who wants to lose their family and their friends? It's amazing because many people will actually stay in the cult even though they don't believe the teachings anymore, because they don't want to be isolated. They don't want to lose their family and friends. You feel like you're trapped. So how did I break free? How did I get to my happy place and stay out? Well, three things mainly. The first was education. I read and watched informative videos and watched documentaries to keep reassuring myself that leaving was the right decision. Because cults are very big on controlling information, especially anything negative against them. They don't want you to hear that. So I made sure to read all of that. and it reassured me. Because many times when you feel isolated, it's very easy to go running back. When you're lonely, to go back to something that's familiar. So I kept reminding myself that I made the right decision through education. And even today, I still continually educate myself, because every now and then doubts do creep back in, that maybe I made the wrong decision, maybe I need to go back. So I continually educate myself. That was the first way. The second way is support. There are many groups out there of people who were in a similar situation and they escaped. And you can tap into those resources and they can be a big, big help. And the third way I got out was I made new friends. Real friends. Friends that weren't going to leave me just because I wanted to go to a different church. See, those three things really helped me to get to my happy place, to escape and to stay out. So if you're feeling trapped, shackled, handcuffed, just remember, you can escape. You can. Just number one, get the education you need. Find out what you need to do to get out of your bad situation. And number two, get support. Always, always there are people that were in similar situations and they got out. You can tap into those resources. They'll help you. And the third thing, rely on your friends. Rely on them for encouragement and strength. You're going to need it, but they'll be there for you, real friends. Sometimes it may look bleak, but just remember, myself and many, many, many other people have been in similar situations and they are free. And any effort you have to make, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it because your freedom is definitely the real happy place. Thank you.
Right.